We thought we were just taking a shortcut, a little trail that would shave some time off our hike. But what we stumbled into in the middle of the woods was something we should never have seen. This is the shortcut. My name's Jeff, and this happened last summer when my girlfriend Kelly and I decided to try a longer hike than we were used to. We weren't hardcore hikers or anything like that, just people who liked being outdoors on weekends. The trail we picked was supposed to be around 9 miles total, a loop through dense forest with some elevation but nothing too extreme. According to the All Trails reviews, most people finished it in about 5 hours. We started late. That was the first mistake. We didn't hit the trailhead until almost noon, which at the time didn't feel like a big deal. Sunset wasn't until after 7, and we figured even if we moved slowly, we'd have plenty of daylight. The first half of the hike was great. Wide trail, good visibility through the trees, occasional people passing in the opposite direction. Normal stuff. But after we reached the midpoint, things started taking longer than we expected. The terrain got steeper, the trail narrowed, and Kelly's knee, which sometimes bothered her, started acting up. We slowed down a lot. By the time I checked my watch again, it was already after 5. That's when the anxiety started creeping in. We still had miles left. Around that time, Kelly pulled out her phone to check the map. We had service earlier in the hike, but it was spotty now. Still, the GPS dot was working enough to show where we were. She zoomed in and said, "There's another trail here." It looked like a faint connector path that cut across part of the loop and rejoined closer to the trailhead. A shortcut. At least, that's what it looked like. It didn't seem sketchy, just less maintained. We talked about it for maybe 30 seconds before deciding to take it. That was the second mistake. The connector trail started off fine, narrower than the main path, but still visible. Leaves covering parts of it, some fallen branches, but nothing unusual. After about 10 minutes, though, it got harder to follow. The ground wasn't as worn. We had to look more carefully for signs. Small breaks in vegetation, flattened areas where people had walked before. Kelly checked the map again. "It's still going the right direction," she said. So we kept going. About 20 minutes later, the forest changed. It's hard to explain exactly how, but it felt deeper, quieter. The trees were thicker, closer together, blocking more light. I remember noticing there weren't any bird sounds anymore, just wind in the canopy. And even that felt muted. Then I almost tripped over something. A black plastic tube running along the ground, about an inch thick. It stretched off into the brush on both sides. At first I assumed it was some kind of irrigation line for forestry work or something, but then I saw another one, and another, all running roughly the same direction. Kelly frowned. "Why would there be hoses out here?" I didn't answer right away, because honestly, I didn't know. A few minutes later, the smell hit us next. Faint at first, then unmistakable. If you've ever smelled marijuana before, you know the scent. Kelly slowed down. "Jeff," she said quietly. I nodded. We both knew what it was, but our brains hadn't fully connected the implications yet. Then we stepped past a cluster of bushes and saw the plants. Rows of them, maybe hundreds, growing across a clearing carved into the forest. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like an elevator. Because in that moment, one realization hit me harder than anything else. This wasn't abandoned. This was active, maintained, which meant someone was responsible for it. And whoever that was, probably wasn't far away. Kelly grabbed my arm hard. "We need to leave," she whispered. I nodded immediately. We didn't take another step forward. We just turned around. As soon as we started moving back the way we came, I noticed it, a low mechanical hum. Somewhere deeper in the trees, not loud, but steady, like a small engine, a generator. That confirmed everything. This wasn't just plants in the woods. This was an operation. And we had just walked straight into it. My heart started pounding, not just from fear, but from the sudden awareness of how vulnerable we were. We were miles from the main trail, no cell service, no one around, and possibly trespassing into something illegal. The worst part was the uncertainty. Had anyone seen us? We walked faster, trying to retrace our steps exactly. Then Kelly whispered, "Jeff, don't look behind us." That sentence alone made adrenaline flood through me. "What?" I whispered back. "I think someone's there." I listened. At first, nothing. Then a faint snap, like a twig breaking under weight. My chest tightened instantly. We kept walking, faster now, trying not to panic, trying not to run. Every instinct in my body screamed that we were being watched. I glanced over my shoulder briefly. I saw movement, a shape stepping behind a trunk. Someone. My stomach dropped into pure terror. "Just keep going," I said quietly. The footsteps continued, sometimes closer, sometimes farther away, branches snapping, leaves shifting. At one point I heard voices, low, muffled, not English. I couldn't understand the words. That somehow made it worse. About 10 minutes into this, something landed on the ground ahead of us. A small rock, not thrown hard, more like tossed to get attention. We both froze. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. From the corner of my eye, I saw movement again in the trees. That's when the fear changed. Before it was panic about being followed. Now it felt like something else. Like they were controlling the situation, making sure we kept moving in a certain direction, escorting us out, or making sure we didn't wander deeper. Either way, we were completely at their mercy. We walked for what felt like an hour, though it was probably 20 minutes. Eventually, the forest started looking more familiar. The terrain opened slightly, and finally, we saw the faint outline of the main trail ahead. I have never felt relief like that in my life. We didn't stop moving until we reached it, and even then, we kept going fast. The footsteps stopped once we reached the main trail, completely. Like whoever had been following us didn't want to be seen by other hikers. That realization was its own kind of chilling. We made it back to the parking lot just before sunset. Our car was still there. We got inside and locked everything immediately. And we left without even taking our backpacks off. We didn't talk much during the drive home, just processing, trying to convince ourselves we were safe, that it was over. It wasn't until later that night that Kelly noticed something. She was unpacking her backpack at the kitchen counter when she stopped and said, "Jeff, did you put this on here?" I walked over. Hanging from one of the zipper pulls was a small black plastic tag on a metal key ring, about the size of a car key fob. I'd never seen it before. "No," I said immediately. She shook her head. "That wasn't there this morning." My stomach dropped, because I knew she was right. I would have noticed it, which meant someone else had attached it while we were in the woods, close enough to her bag to clip it on without us realizing. It didn't take long to understand what it probably was: a tracker. Later that night, I drove across town and threw it away in a gas station trash can. I remember looking over my shoulder the whole time, feeling exposed. For weeks after that, both of us had this constant feeling that someone was watching us. Maybe it was paranoia, but the feeling never completely went away. People have asked why we didn't report the grow, why we didn't tell anyone where it was. The truth is simple. When you realize someone you don't know, in the middle of nowhere, got close enough to you to attach something to your backpack without you noticing, you stop thinking about doing the right thing. You start thinking about staying safe and making sure whoever it was doesn't have a reason to find you again. Sometimes I still think about that moment in the woods, the footsteps behind us, the shapes between the trees. And I wonder if the only reason we made it out was because they decided to let us. Because the more I think about that tracker, the more it didn't feel like they were trying to follow us. It felt like they were making sure we understood. They already could.